Moses was content with his simple life as a shepherd in Midian. He had grown comfortable with his routine and was hesitant to take on the overwhelming task of leading the Israelites out of Egypt. His propensity for predictability caused him to argue with God about his calling. Eventually, and reluctantly, Moses conceded to God's beckoning to lead the children of Israel out of slavery to the border of the promised land. Gideon was filled with fear and uncertainty when God called him to lead his people into battle against the Midianites. He was content with his life as a simple farmer and was hesitant to step out of his comfort zone as well. However, once he found the courage to move past his fear and take on the challenge, he discovered his calling as a leader and he became a hero of great faith. After being swallowed by a great fish and spending 3 days in its belly, Jonah finally declared to God, "But I, with the voice of thanksgiving, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will pay. Salvation belongs to the Lord." Jonah 2:9 from the ESV. Afterward, Jonah went to Nineveh and he preached to the people, urging them to repent and turn from their wickedness. We are lured into comfort zone living when we're content with how things are, when we experience fear or doubt our own abilities, or when we fail to see God's heart for the people for whom Christ died. Finding your sweet spot. In the early 1900s, baseball players began to use the term sweet spot to describe the ideal location on the baseball bat to hit the ball with maximum power and accuracy. If you hit the ball on its sweet spot, you feel a solid connection with the ball. There's no stinging, no vibration, and no broken bat. It all depends on the shape of the bat and how you hold it. The same applies to golf clubs and tennis rackets, or our favorite fishing holes. The sweet spot in ministry is found at the intersection where your personality, gifts, calling, and passion intersect with God's direction and timing. Both men had a passion for running, but for Liddell, the son of Scottish missionaries, his running was also an expression of his faith. In one of the film's most memorable scenes, Liddell is approached by his sister before a big race, who was concerned that his running was a distraction from his Christian ministry. Liddell responded with the now iconic line, "When I run, I feel God smile." At that moment, Liddell acknowledged that his running and ministry are not mutually exclusive, but complement each other. Finding your sweet spot where your passions and your calling intersect with God's timing and direction can be a powerful and fulfilling experience in ministry. Liddell's story challenges us to embrace our personality, our gifts, calling, and passion, and find the place where they intersect with God's direction and timing. It's here where we learn how God has uniquely called us to serve Him. Throughout the biblical narrative, we find numerous accounts of people stepping out into their sweet spots. David was predisposed to living a life of faith and courage. He found his sweet spot when he was called to stand up against the giant Goliath. Despite being a mere shepherd boy, David dared to step out of his comfort zone and fight for his people. This was a turning point in David's life. He became a mighty warrior and a king of Israel. Jabez prayed for God to expand his territory, showing his willingness to step out of his comfort zone and embrace new challenges. Jabez recognized that staying in his comfort zone would limit his potential for growth and success. 1 Chronicles 4:10. Remember the remarkable story of Queen Esther? Haman, the king's advisor, had planned to annihilate the Jews. Esther's cousin Mordecai begged her to use her position as queen to intercede before the king and plead for her people's lives. Esther was initially reluctant to do so. She knew that approaching the king uninvited could result in her execution. However, Mordecai reminded her that by keeping silent, she would not be spared from the genocide planned for her people. Mordecai was convinced that Esther had become queen at the right time for such a time as this. So Esther summoned all the Jews in their capital city, and they prayed and fasted for 3 days before she went to see the king. Despite the danger, she bravely revealed her Jewish identity and she pleaded for her people's lives. The king was so moved by Esther's words, he granted her request. Thus, the Jews were saved from destruction, and Esther became a powerful symbol of faith and courage in the face of adversity. And don't forget the heartwarming story of Ruth. While living in Moab, Naomi's sons each married a Moabite woman, Ruth and Orpah. However, tragically, Naomi's husband and sons died, leaving Naomi, Ruth, and Orpah alone. Naomi decided to return to her homeland and encourage her daughters in law to stay in Moab and find new husbands. While Orpah stayed behind, Ruth refused to leave Naomi's side. Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried. May the Lord do so to me and more, also, if anything but death parts me from you. Naomi was moved by Ruth's loyalty and devotion, and the two women set out together on the road to Bethlehem. In this act of loyalty and devotion, Ruth safeguarded the lineage of Jesus. Where are you now? And where is God calling you? Does it make sense to continue leading a cell if God is actually calling you to pastor a congregation? Why not develop your skills and gain the knowledge to do just that? On the other hand, why spend time fantasizing about becoming a mega church pastor if God is not giving you the calling or the capacity to do so? The stinging and vibration of each swing will only subside when you find your God given sweet spot.